Hello everyone, my name is Angela. I'm an account manager here at LandCentral, and we wanted to bring you a quick video on a tool you can use when researching vacant land or undeveloped land. And you should be able to click on the research checklist on the description below this video to use that as a tool. If you've signed up for our marketing emails, you might have already had a chance to look at this a few months back. One of the most daunting things about purchasing vacant land is doing your due diligence or research. So we mention this a lot in our videos because we want our customers to be happy with their land and feel empowered to make the most informed decision possible. The simple research checklist has 3 parts to it: maps and locations, permitted uses, and utilities. And here in a minute, we're going to switch it to screen view, and you're going to go with me on a journey on this research checklist. So here we go. So now I'm going to go through this research checklist, and let's go find a property that we want to look at. So I'm going to go here. Let's see. We are going to research land for sale. Let's do this one, 10858 in Putnam County, Florida. So I'm going to go back to the research checklist, and this research checklist has 3 sections. It has maps, location, permitted uses, and utilities. So this is just a basic checklist that you can use when you're looking to research properties that you're interested in. And I'm just going to go through this on this property in Putnam County so we can go through it together. You can see how it works. So it says click on the satellite view link in the land specific section on the property page. So we're going to go back to the property page, and so here it has general information, LandCentral's property number, state, county, and then it has land specific. So you're going to scroll down, and we're going to go to the satellite view. The satellite view brings you to Google Maps. And you can either do it in map view or satellite view. So we're going to scroll into the property, and you can see on the Google Maps link, you can kind of see the outlines for the parcels here. I'm going to change this to the satellite view though. I want to look at it in Google Earth view. So we pulled that up. Next step is click on the satellite icon in the bottom left corner of the screen. We did that. And then it says how you can zoom in and zoom out. You can use these little buttons. I have a mouse and I'm just rolling it using the roller. So first thing I do is I'm looking at the property. I'm seeing if there's any houses near it. So this is definitely not developed. There is a house over here. This is a good thing to see for power. So you can see if you zoom in, there's a power line here. So it looks like they ran power down this road to get to this house. But if you come up here, you can kind of see where the power is running here up on the top. And I bet there's power that comes down here, but there's no power that comes down here. So the closest power is going to be if you go down Norman Avenue up to Linda. Or you could maybe go from here down. It's kind of in the middle. So that's one thing that you can look at. The other thing that's a helpful tool is street views. This little yellow person you can click and drag. I'm going to put the little yellow person back, and I'm going to scroll out more. And you can tell if there's a street view because there's it turns into blue. So I'm going to drop that little guy there. And now you can see that if you look down, it says image capture is December 2007. So this is not the most recent street view, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the area looks like. I'm going to get out of the street view. And it looks like this property. So the area is somewhat developed, but I mean this property is not. So we're going to go back to our checklist. Okay, drag the person to where the property is located. We saw the blue line. We went to the street view. You can click and hold your mouse button while moving your mouse to get a 360-degree angle of the area. And then we also went over the image capture date. So why is the satellite view good? Because it kind of gives you an idea of what is around. You can look here, it says imagery, copyright 2019. So the satellite view is pretty accurate, whereas the street view is not. So if you look from the bird's eye view, you can kind of see, you know, this property, it's on a dirt road, it's, it hasn't been cleared or anything like that, so it's totally undeveloped. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to go to permitted uses. So it tells us to, and this is AKA zoning. So we're going to scroll down the page to the land specifics information to find the general zoning of a property. So we're going to go back to the property. And this is the zoning classification. So R2 residential. So this, but with this, what we do is we find out what zoning is that property located in, to find out. So it's R2 residential. So now we're going to go back to our page, and we're going to do, so now we want to look up what the zoning ordinance means. So it says do a Google search for whatever county zoning ordinance. Usually this will bring up a zoning ordinance in your research results. Oftentimes a link to the county zoning department will come up in your search results. If that's the case, you'll need to navigate the county website to find the ordinance PDF. However, sometimes you get lucky and the PDF ordinance itself will come up on the search results. So we're going to go back here and we're going to Google, and I'm going to put in Putnam County, Florida. Yeah, I always do the county and the state, and we're going to do zoning ordinance. Oh, look, it's right there. Okay, so Land Development Code, Putnam County. So we're going to go here, and it brings you right to their Land Development Code, and we're going to want to know the zoning. So we have all this fun stuff that you'd ever want to know about the ordinances. Okay, so we're going to go to permitted uses. And then this has permitted uses. So we're going to scroll down and look, here's all our zoning districts. So R2 is on page 18. So we're going to scroll down to page 18. Keep going. Okay, so R2, R2HA. So the purpose of R2, it's zoning district for mobile homes and single family and community residential home having 6 or less residences. And then a special use permit, there's more that you can use. And then a special use permit to locate in the zoning districts in the R2, and here are some more. So this kind of gives you what that zoning is. Each zoning ordinance is different depending on the county, if you can find it online. So you can tell this is going to have use categories, zoning districts, it has all this stuff, and then general, and then all the different zoning, and then it has, you know, accessory uses and structures, location uses, all this different stuff, and you can kind of look at that. So here's my thing. If you have specific questions, like you're like, hey, it says single family dwelling or mobile home, you know, what's the minimum square footage, or what are the setbacks, or things like that, you can always call the county. And here it has their number here that you can call and ask them. And when you call them, you're going to want to give them the assessor parcel number, not our 4 or 5 digit property number, but this, because this is how the county finds the property in their database. And the majority of vacant land do not have physical addresses assigned to them. So that assessor parcel number is really important. Okay, now let's see, what did we do? Okay, so once you have the PDF document, you can hold down Control plus F, Control plus Find to find buttons on your keyboard to bring up a search box. Then you can type whatever the zoning code is. I just use the table of contents, but if you go back here, let's go back to here, you can do Control F, and then you can put in R2, and then if you keep hitting enter, So it brings you to all the R2. So these are future land categories. This brings you to the actual zoning, and of course it has it all here. So that's a little helpful tool. Let's go back to here. After you located the zoning code, you'll go into depth on all the uses that are permitted on the property and what is permitted with the county approval and special permit. The code will also go into detail minimum property size of dwelling and other use with the setbacks for the property lines. I didn't see that on there, but we didn't go into depth the whole zoning ordinance, and it might be in another section. So we're not going to take the time to search through all of that right now, but that's something you can search, or again, you can just call the county and ask them. Keep in mind that if a property is not zoned for a specific use, it can still mean there are building requirements that must be met in order to be compliant with the county or city. This is a good point to make. So people are like, I want a property that's not zoned, that I can do whatever I want on. And that's rare to find in these days. Even if the property still has no zoning classification, does not mean that the county or the city does not have some sort of ordinances you have to follow. But what you can do is we're going to search, I'm going to go to advanced search, and then I'm going to do any zoning not zoned. We're going to search for land. And this will bring up like all our not zoned properties. And so for example, Brazoria County, Texas. So this is a good example because this, you can see this is in a homeowners association. So even though if you go down to land specifics and it says Texas does not zone outside city limits, no zoning, that does not mean there aren't any building requirements or regulations. So this is an HOA. So what I always like to do is I'd like to Google Twin Lakes, like Twin Lakes Club Inc. and then Brazoria County, Texas, see if I can see if that HOA has a website, see if there's CCNRs or is it conditions, restrictions, and regulations. There are documents on what you can and can't do on the property on there, or you can call them and say, hey, I'm looking at this property. It's in your HOA. Do you have any building requirements? So that's a good example. So just because something doesn't say it's not zoned does not mean that you can do whatever you want on it. It means that it's just not in a zoning classification. You definitely want to research that. So I want to go back now to the property we were on before. Okay, so now we're going to go down to utilities. So when we buy properties, we buy them as is, we sell them as is. Not everybody wants to build on a property or have utilities. It depends on what their specific goal is. And so, but this is just going to be a simple like checklist. So it says using the steps from maps locations, you know how to pull up a property on satellite view on Google Maps. When zoomed out, you'll be able to see if the property is in or at least near a city. If the property is not near the city, the chances of utilities being available are almost none. So we're going to go back to the Google Maps. So this is kind of a good example because here you can see definitely the property is undeveloped, but there are some structures or some dwellings in the area. It's not as well populated as like maybe down here. So these are questions. So we already were looking for power, so we know that power is near. You might have to call a power company and see how much it's going to cost to bring the power to the property. This is another good, this is Florida, so you might want to find out, is this septic or sewer, public water, or well? My guess would be maybe septic, and then as for water, I don't know. I don't know if this area, if they have a public water system or if they have something else. So, but this gives you an idea of what is around there. If there's houses around, most likely there's some sort of infrastructure. So our next... okay, so following the steps for the map's location, when you're zoomed in the satellite view, you will want to look for power poles and lines near the property. We already did that earlier. If there's a street view available, you'll be able to see if there are poles or a power box. So we did not get a street view in front of the property. It was quite a ways down, but we could already tell from the aerial view about power. So if it looks like power is available, but you want to be 100% certain, you can do a Google search that might look something like power company in blank and see what comes up. So for here, sometimes on Google Maps, if you click on the nearest house, or even if you click on the dot, it'll bring up like, and I don't know if that's the actual address of this property. Sometimes with Google Maps, you want to be careful. But it looks like it's in Interlaken, Florida. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google power company in Interlaken, Florida. So, and then it brings up electric company in 32148, and I think that was the zip code, yeah, 32148. And then it has a Florida Power Light and Tico Energy. The other thing is you can call the county and say, hey, you know, do you have city water or public water utilities, or are they privately ran? So I would always start with the county first, actually start with an HOA first and ask them if you can contact them and find their information, then start with the county about that and ask them those questions. So now we're going to go back down here. Another option is to call the County Planning and Zoning Department and ask about utilities, including water, city, sewer, and power. So like I said before. Again, if the property is in an HOA, you can call them or check their website to inquire about utilities, as oftentimes they're set up through the association. Or if they're not, they know who to contact. Homeowners associations are tricky because sometimes it's like an actual business with an office number, or sometimes it's just individuals who live in that area that take on the role of president or whatever. Sometimes those can be hard or tricky to chase down as to who to contact about what. Depends on what the homeowners association, what their role is. You know, do they just maintain the roads? Do they have a whole section of how everything should look and be built? And are there amenities included and those types of things? Okay, so sometimes the county assessor's website will show you if there are any utilities available to the property. Simply Google the assessor's website for the county you are looking in and using the parcel number provided on the LandCentral.com to do the search. So we're going to go here. I'm just going to Google Putnam County, Florida property search. So you can go to the assessor. I'm going to go here. Of course, I accept all your little disclosures. Okay, and then we have to put the parcel number, so that's this number here. So 130924. So in here you kind of have to put them. So 130924. And then we have 4075. 4075. 60. And then 0090. And then 0090. Search. Okay. So we're going to go here. This shows up that we don't have our properties in the name of LandCentral. That's just our website. We have various holding companies that our properties are deeded in. Marathon Kia LLC is one of ours. So I'm going to look here and see if it tells me anything about any utilities. So here it's not telling me much. It says location, neighborhood, mobile homes. Oh, that takes me to another page. Oh, well, if you have questions about that, and then property use, and then it takes me to, here you go, the different uses of property. This is vacant land because there's nothing on there. Description, so this doesn't show like it has any utilities. Sometimes, let's see. Okay, residential, so this is giving you the depth and units. Tells you what so this R2 is the zoning. Future land use is A2. Still does not talk about any utilities. Okay, so now we're going to go to here. You can also do a Google search for well logs in a state and use the latitude, longitude coordinates of the property or the address of the property, if there is one, to pull up and see if the neighboring parcels have wells drilled. And then you can also sometimes see the depth. So Florida, I'm not going to really search for a well log because there's not much, but you know, like you can always, like if you're looking for property, Montana well logs. And then, so this has well data, and you can, there's probably a public one that you can do. Or let's do well logs. Let's just do well logs. Well logging. So you can do it to different areas and kind of search that up. So a lot of times the well logs of a certain state will just show you like any past permits pulled, the depth that was drilled, and that kind of thing. Okay, so now we're going to go back to, and that is basically how you would use our research checklist. So that's going to give you some basic information on what to do. That was pretty simple for you guys. I hope that it's helpful, and we really hope that you subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, share this video. We hope that you have a wonderful day, and from us here at LandCentral.com, thank you so much. Bye.